بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. We'll start our last class. Inshallah, we'll resume the Sharia Maqasid next time, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. And next week will be the last week before the break of Ramadan. The exam you will have it, inshallah, the first week we resume after Ramadan, after the Eid. Brother Ibrahim, he will give you all the details. You wanna later before we leave, so everybody will be here because some of them are in the break. But I will have them to wait, inshallah. Our class, Sharh in As-Suluk, Al-Akhlaq wa Suluk, moral and conduct of the believer. Our book is Tuhfah al-Iraqiya fi A'mal al-Qulub. Tuhfah العراقية في أعمال القلوب لشيخ الإسلام ابن تيمية رحمه الله تعالى. And we're gonna talk also, you remember we said in the book of Al-Akhlaq wa Suluk, our reference is the part of the book of Fatawa of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, Ilm al-Suluk, and this is a book of it, one of it. And then there's the diseases of the heart, that I think we had a copy of it, you have it, a soft copy. And some of the fatwa in the way of the tazkiyah and purification, important for us as students of knowledge to go through them. We mentioned last time, we're talking about the meaning of the ibadah and the importance of the ibadah. And then we talked about az-zuhd. One of the style, of the writing of the author, rahimahullah ta'ala, is many of the books that he has written, they were answer to questions and correcting corruptions. Therefore, we will, inshallah, get from the book the benefit for us to initiate the action, but in the same time, to build that the protection to not fall into deviation. Because the path of the purification of the heart and the soul is required and obligated by the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because it's a part of the iman and a part of someone's journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But there is a very subtle difference, a difference in the path. Someone can follow the path of the purification and up deviated from the path of as-sirat al-mustaqim, from the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, seeking purification. And there's a path of purification leading to the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Both of them, in the beginning, they look the same. We're talking about tawakkul, trust in Allah, rely in Allah, confidence in Allah, love of Allah, love of His Prophet ﷺ, worship, zuhd, renunciation to worldly life, everything the same. But the farther you go on the path, you see the differences. This is where Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah is instructing us, teaching us in his book, the way to be on the path, the way to be on the path. One of the analysis has been done in study that we have done in the Al-Akhlaq wa Suluk. We came to a conclusion that the purification of the soul has two objectives. One objective lead to deviation, and one objective lead to the humility to Allah. The objective, one is say, why are you purifying yourself? What are you seeking? From out of the purification of the self, of the soul. What do you want? Some people, they say, they're studying every day. I would say to them, my recommendation, my advice is say, stop. Ask yourself why you are studying. Because if you don't have the objective, therefore you'll be studying without collecting the right knowledge, the right manhaj, to get to your objective. So the objective of the purification of the soul is either to dignify the self or to glorify the self. Close to each other. Dignify the self or glorify the self. إكرام الذات أو تعظيم الذات. When you look, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala قال إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم. Who the most honored before Allah is the one who has more piety. That is honoring the self. That is dignifying the self. You honor yourself by being better servant through the way of the taqwa, and the taqwa here is defined by the ittiba'. What is the ittiba'? Following the footsteps of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. On the other hand, the glorifying the self is like seeking the purification to feel that you are greater than others, which many of the, you find it in the extreme Sufi sect. That's glorifying the self. They want to be like a drop who will absorb the whole ocean. That's really, kind of glory, not humility. Therefore, the path of purification here is to cleanse the self from the deficiency of the low self, so they can liberate themselves to be greater. Because in some of their thinking, very deviated thinking, that they come to the unity with God. That's what they call mysticism. Because of glorifying the self. When you dignify yourself, you're seeking to be the more humble, the more humility to Allah. That's through the ubudiyyah. And this is the different path. So some of the understanding of the tawakkul, for example, people, they make tawakkul on Allah for their own benefit. For example, to gain a karama which is kind of miracle. So they believe if someone is being granted the karama, he's almost in the level of a prophet. The servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he will always regard the Prophet as the greater human being that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala selected. He will not compete to be better than them. He will raise to be follower of them. You see the difference? That's a subtle. And this is what makes the deviation. Because glorifying the self, to think that you are bringing things like, it make you someone who's like superior to others, to the point they don't pray. For example, they have their own prayer. For example, through the whirling, it becomes a meditation, transcendence to the divine. Say, how you do such a thing? Say, that's how the way of purification. I said, did the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did the Prophet do it? No. Did the companion do it? No. So how can we do it? Even though it might feel good, it might taste sweet, but it's leading you to other than the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why here, when we stopped last time, I said is one of the most beautiful statements ever said about the meaning of zuhud. Say someone renounced to the dunya. Renounced to the dunya, the worldly life is not in his heart. He have $1 million or $1 is the same for him. The loss of the $1 million, it will not grieve him. And the gain of $1 million doesn't make him happy. That's the zuhud. But you ask someone why you become Zahid, why you want Zuhd, why you want to renounce to the life. What is the objective? Because one of the companions, and I believe it was Salman al-Farisi, when they were coming back from an expedition, Salman al-Farisi, he saw a cave, and he found, I believe he was Salman, Wallahu Alam, one of the companions. It has a spring of water, and he said, this is a great place of seclusion. And he asked the Prophet ﷺ, he said, we didn't. No problem. That's always happened. But you have those phones that say, what did you say? I said, I didn't say anything. Can I help you? No. And then you receive in the email something that you were thinking. Sometimes someone talking with his family about things. The next time you check your email, you find that thing that you were talking about is in your email. And soon, whatever you think about it, you're going to see it in your email. So, Nasallallahu al-afiyah. So, the objective of renunciation, to renounce to the life. So, when the Prophet ﷺ said, قَالَ إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ بِالْحَنَفِيَّةِ السَّمْحَةِ, I was sent with Hanafiya, the path that it deviated from other faiths, some of them, they led to crookedness. Because you're supposed to be guided, guys, not you're supposed to be worshipping and you don't care about anybody else. Have a seclusion in the cave, as one Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala mentioned in the book of Madarij al-Salikin. He said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to one of his prophets, he said, ask the worshipper az-Zahid, you're not doing anything for Allah. So he asked him, the Prophet, he said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to me that all your worship, but you're not observing the rights of Allah. He said, how come? I've been worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala all the time. Secluded, I don't do anything except worship. So the Prophet, what he told him the worship is for you. You're getting sweetness, you're getting tranquility, you're getting rest, you're getting all this favor. Right? It's for you. قالوا أما زهدك لك فلك. The renunciation of the dunya actually is the best thing that you offer to yourself. You don't have a problem of paying, how you're going to pay the tax, how you're going to do this, how you're going to deal with this new income, how are you going to deal with this loss? You don't have any of this problem. So زهدك قال راحة لك وانقطاعك عن الناس عزة لك. And the fact that you are cutting off yourself from the people, cutting off yourself and being with Allah, that will give you more dignity and more pride and honor among people. People, they will respect you because of that. But what have you done to Allah? So then he said, what should I do? قال هل واليت في وليا أو عاديت في عدوة? Did you help anyone or support anyone standing for the truth? Or were you standing against someone who's doing mischief? That is the way how to observe the rights of Allah. Because in the hadith, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Jibreel to punish a society or a town, he came back, he said, Ya Allah, there is a righteous man. He said, with him you start. Why? Because he lost the meaning of faith. He lost the meaning of the rights of being a servant to Allah. قال إنه كان يرى المنكر ولا يتمعر وجهه له. He used to see evil thing and his face doesn't even frown. He doesn't even care. So if someone doesn't care about the oppression, about the transgression, about all this corruption, and he feels safe and goes to his mihrab and he prays and he, like swinging his head, is for you, not for what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created you for. So if there is no objective to your action, that's why the purification of the soul and the akhlaq and the tazkiyah that we are studying, it's not an objective in its end. It's a mean, it's a way to better worship Allah, to better act, to be better servant. So I say, I'm purifying my heart, and people like say, okay, how can we do this? Let's have a circle of dhikr. And they say, oh Allah, Allah, Allah. I said, what after that? Why are you doing that? What is the purpose? So if we disconnect our action from the purpose, therefore our action becomes an empty shell. And the interest of that action comes back to the one who acting, not to his belief, his perspective, his journey. It becomes an individual. And that's why it becomes people auto-centered, egoist. You know, promoting individualism like, you know, the society of outside. The same. And one of the scholars actually put them the same. Those who fighting and accumulating money and thinking only about themselves is the same like the people, of course not the same, but in the same thinking, that they are cleansing themselves for their own selves. And that's why here, when we said last time, is one of the most beautiful statement about zuhd, because he connected the zuhd with the objective, which is the akhirah. قال الزهد المشروع هو ترك الرغبة فيما لا ينفع في الدار الآخرة. To just strive and turn away from anything that you want and will not help you in the hereafter. Anything that we do today will not help us in the hereafter is going to be burden on us. So the zuhd is to renounce. Zuhd means to renounce, is the best thing according to this objective, to renounce to such a thing, which is waste today and burden tomorrow. There's things mubah. Someone, for example, he needs to walk in a park. In the morning, it really refresh him, give him energy. That's beneficial, right? Help him to better think, to better focus, beneficial. But if he do those work, instead of half an hour, he take 4 hours. That it goes beyond, it becomes excessive. So maybe that 3 extra hours they were waste. It's lawful, but it's better that he makes zuhd on those. He can put them in dhikr. He can put them in work. He can use them in being with his children. He can use them with being like young one with his parents. Why? Because that extra 3 hours are not going to help him. He's going to regret them in the day of judgment because they were waste time. That's the meaning of the zuhd that the author rahimahullah ta'ala he's sharing with us. قال وهو فضول المباح التي لا يستعان بها على طاعة الله. Any lawful thing that someone will be doing, not helping him in the obedience of Allah or fulfilling the mission of his creation. كما أن الورع المشروع هو ترك ما قد يضر في الدار الآخرة. الورع is to be away from the haram, and الورع to really be mindful and aware of every action you do, so you will not get into the violation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wara, someone give you a glass, if you're not sure that it's halal, you don't drink it. Example, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to enter to his house, and you'll find a date on the ground. He'll take it, he'll clean it, and he said, while I'm going to eat it, I remember, said, maybe this is sadaqah. So he put it down. That's wara. The wara, to be mindful and watchful on every action you do to not violate Allah's way, subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the wara. But here the wara, some people, for example, everything they make it haram on themselves. So this is wrong wara. That's why he said define it, put it with his objective, link it with the akhirah. So the wara is to prevent yourself and not strive to not fall in anything that is going to harm you in the hereafter. That's why we say when you link it with objective, it becomes clear. Because someone from the wara, which is good wara, but you see how people are mindful. An old lady selling, small clothes, things like small accessories done in wool. She put them on two piles. One pile, for example, is, $10. The other pile is $6. The same items. So one of the scholar, he stopped by her place, and he said, "Can I ask you a question?" He said, "Why this one is 10 and this one is 6? They are the same." She said, "When I was knitting them, this one was in the light, and the other one was in the dark, in the night. I didn't have enough light. So I presume that the quality of this one is better than this one. That's why they have different price." That's wara. You see, so this wara, I said like this, I'm offering the quality. This one, I know that is better quality because I have more light. This one, less light. That's why the difference of the price. So this is wara. You see how mindfulness, watchful, But the wara to be excessive in a way that someone is preventing and prohibiting everything, that it doesn't have an objective. They say, what is the objective of that? That's why here قال والورع المشروع هو ترك ما قد يضر في الدار الآخرة. So the very important conclusion here, every action you do in the journey of tazkiyah, of purification, you have to have an objective. And the objective is the hereafter. How is going to help you in the hereafter? How is going to hurt you in the hereafter? Then you find a clear vision of your action. Clear vision. Someone, for example, said one of the wara is for the action of the purification to watch diet. One of the, as the people they have. And the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, he said, قال لقيمات تقيم صلب ابن آدم إلى آخره. But there's some people excessive, as I mentioned to you the story that Imam Ibn al-Jawzi mentioned in his book Talbis Iblis, that people they don't eat anything. They measuring piety with less eating. So to gain more, the more, the less he's eating, he believes that he's the more pious. So they call him Zahid. So it becomes like in the society, oh, this is one Zahid, mashallah, he doesn't eat at all. Mashallah. If you say such a thing, you are already corrupted. Because you appreciate such a thing, it means like we don't have the knowledge. Someone, for example, tell you, mashallah, remember we were young, we have someone like, sect sometimes, in every country. So they have their teacher, like sheikh. So he's doing this and this and he did this, and so like that we only hear like subhanallah, it's like I don't know, like Imam al-Ghazali or Imam Ibn Taymiyyah in his time. But he never give lecture, we don't see him at all. Say type well. So I said to this person, said, but we don't see him in Fajr. We were very young. He said, no, he doesn't come to Fajr. You know why? I said, why? We said, we were young. He said, no, he prays Fajr every day in Mecca. I said, okay. So if you say, MashaAllah, that's, a sign of ignorance. You say, so it was just for us, because, some Sufi sect, they have Ahlul Khatwa, the people of one step. I don't know if you heard this. He make one step, he's in Mecca. Another step, he's back home. Yeah, that's karamat, miracle. I mean, they do it in their dreams, but in reality, there's no such a thing. So, this is the way, as we saying, subhanAllah, if you don't link it and you have objective, then it becomes a corruption. It becomes what the scholar they used to say before, zindiq. Someone zindiq who followed the path of the purification with full ignorance. They told him, one of the path of purification to not eat, he doesn't eat at all. To have, worn out clothes because you're supposed to be poor, he will have clothes that no one can be close to him because, of the smell. So that's not purification, that's not zuhud, that's not wara, that's zandaqa. Why? Because they don't have, the path that they're following, it doesn't have any objective. And if you don't link it to the objective, which is the pleasure of Allah, the path of the Prophet ﷺ, therefore this is not purification, this is way of crookedness and deviation. قال والورع إذن ترك المحرمات والشبهات التي لا يستلزم تركها ترك ما فعله أرجح منها كالواجبات وما ينفع في الدار الآخرة. So it's to leave and turn away from the muharramat and the doubtful thing. And don't, if you have doubtful thing that it leads to an obligation, an action of obligation, don't, ignore it, because if it's leading you to what is obligation, you have to do it. But anything that help in the hereafter or help you in your status in the hereafter, renouncing it is something is against the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Actually, the one who does such a thing, he's making things haram on him that are halal, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala قال يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تحرموا طيبات ما أحل الله لكم ولا تعتدوا. Or you believe, do not prohibit on yourself pure and halal thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you as a gift, and do not transgress. Do not transgress. Allah doesn't love or like those transgressors. The same thing, someone getting busy with the lawful thing, but type of lawful thing that not, beneficial, and we have a lot of this in this, in our time and in this society. We have a lot of that, from the devices and نسأل الله العافية. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us all. قال فإن اشتغل بها عن فعل واجب أو فعل بها محرما كان عاصيا. So whoever who get busy in a lawful thing, distract him from an obligatory action, therefore he becomes a sinner. Someone watching TV, the show is mubah, that someone is watching, we say it's mubah. Watching a documentary, learn how to cook. But it distracts him from praying, or he distracts him from the prayer till he missed the prayer. So that action becomes a sin, because it was the cause of distraction for an obligatory action. Example. Then he comes back to at-tawakkul. Because there's a saying of people who said they are, It's like the free will is not a true free will. Someone, all what he's doing is predestined. So why rely on Allah on something that is already predestined? Why making dua on something that I make dua or don't make it is going to happen? وأما قولهم إن الأمور قد فرغ منها فهذا نظير ما قال بعضهم في الدعاء إنه لا حاجة إليه لأن المطلوب إن كان مقدرا أو مقدرا فلا حاجة إليه وإن لم يكن مقدرا لم ينفع الدعاء وهذا القول من أفسد الأقوال شرعا وعقلا. And this is for, is a saying of ignorance. The one who says the relying is not going to help because, or the dua. You say, if you make a dua for saying things that already be predestined, so like making dua or not making, you were going to have it anyway. And if it's not in the destiny, then even you make the dua or you're not going to make it, you're not going to have it. So the author telling us and answering, this is one of the four statements, and afsad, and is like is like very deviated statement from point of view of Sharia and from the point of view of the common sense and intellect. The same thing, those who saying التوكل والدعاء لا يجلب به منفعة. Relying on Allah, trusting, and the dua, it doesn't bring any good, any benefit. ولا يدفع به مضرة, and you cannot shield yourself from any harm with it. But in fact, it's only as a worship. We make tawakkul because it's a worship. We make dua because it's a worship. But it doesn't have any effect in our life, in what is going to happen, because what is going to happen being already predestined. All of that, فهذه الأقوال وما يشبهها يجمعها أصل واحد. أصل واحد, yes. All of these statements are gathered within one asl, yes.
Isn't there a hadith that says that the one thing that changes the writing is the dua?
Yes, I'm going to come to the explanation. فقال هذه الأقوال وما يشبهها يجمعها أصل واحد. All the statement, they are all comes from one root, which is a root of understanding that is deviated, and people of ignorance who stating such a thing. He's saying وهو أن هؤلاء ظنوا أن كون الأمور مقدرة مقضية يمنع أن تتوقف على أسباب مقدرة. What they missed in the chain of the understanding, they missed, like, even though things are muqaddara, predestined, but everything is based on asbab, on condition, cause and effect. You asking for children, you will never have them as long as you didn't get married. They're not gonna come, the children come like with the rain. Well, cause and effect. So they miss that. The other thing that they miss, I will share it with you, which is there's two types of destiny. There's the universal destiny and there's the Shari'i destiny. The Shari'i destiny is the destiny, the divine will based on your choice. So every time you make a choice, you initiate a new destiny by the will of Allah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this destiny, which inside bigger destiny, which is what is in the saved tablet. What is in the saved tablet, Allah already knows all the choice that you're going to do because He's the all-knowing. Someone is sick. Doctors is not helping and everything. He heard the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, try to cure your marda while with the sadaqah. Someone stingy doesn't give a sadaqah. It's not going to help his situation. But when someone will give that sadaqah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by that sadaqah, a process of barakah will be, subhanallah, introduced into the system too. By the will of Allah, this person will be cured. So the choice of giving the sadaqah led to another destiny. This is what we call ash-shar'i. So it's like a destiny related to the free will. The same thing of the dua. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, a decree will be coming down, has a difficulty, going to be inflicting on this particular person, while in its way that person make dua. That dua will stop that decree. And the Prophet ﷺ قال يتصارعان إلى يوم القيامة. They will be pushing each other to the day of judgment, to give us kind of that image to understand this destiny. So the tawakkul, it is within the free will. Therefore, it is part of al-qada al-shari. The other destiny, which is the universal destiny, like the thing that you cannot change, an accident. The sun rise from the east. You cannot change it. That's you live within this system of the Mashiach of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Eating is a fact. Without eating, someone will die. So I cannot say, I trust in Allah to keep me alive without eating. They're saying, no, you're going to die. Right? Because this is a trust outside the ability that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala designed for you. This is actually denial, this is ungratefulness. So those who make the destiny to be one compact without understanding the cause and the effect that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put in the system of His absolute will, and without understand the meaning of the free will and the sharia, because why we call it shari'i destiny, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, do this. If you do it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gonna shower you with His barakah. Going to guarantee for you a joyful, peaceful mind, etc. If you do this, قال ومن أعرض عن ذكري فإن له معيشة ضنكا. And whoever turn away from my remembrance, he going to have a life full of hardship. So if you say, for example, say, if you follow the dhikr of Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala set for you results that you know. And therefore the tawakkul, yes, it changed the condition of your life. The tawakkul give you what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised you. The same thing for the dua. The same thing for the dua, to reject what this statement are being saying by this innovator. And we start from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ to understand more about the destiny and its relation with the tawakkul and the dua, insha'Allah ta'ala, next time. Before we leave, Brother Ibrahim, he will have an announcement, and insha'Allah ta'ala, we'll leave for the prayer, and there will be, inshallah, we're ending the class now because we will not have time to come back after the prayer.